up in the sky. When is my time tonight? Could it be tomorrow? I keep my sister open the door while I'm sitting here waiting for more, but it's all been locked away. This is the time to get home. This is the time to break the law. I'm feeling awfully fine, and I'm thinking that it's the time. I'll step aside the lines and be
So you are listening to the music of Ben Schwartzman. That's his phenomenal track called Big Man. And joining us tonight is Ben's father, Ed, because as you know, because of the tone, like the basically the topics here of this tonight's show being about listening to the dissonance and mental health. Tragically, sadly, we lost Ben at the age of 19, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and was very clearly a extremely talented musician because you reached out to me a couple months back, just simply saying, you know, hey, I might have your next favorite band, meaning mine. And as soon as I put on his music, it immediately grabbed me that I was just like, this is different. This is seriously someone who has a lot of talent. And then come to learn the story, and I asked you if it would be okay that we held the interview for this time frame where we do talk about these very difficult topics. And you said, of course, because it allows his story to maybe come alive for both aspects of it and how important it is to make sure that we speak of these things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. I can't thank you enough. And just how you just opened up, how you were complimentary of his music. He's been gone since 2007. And I've been pushing this rock up a hill, trying to do something productive with his music. And maybe you could argue I already have.
Sure.
But I'm greedy. I want more. It also selfishly serves to fulfill that emptiness in my heart by doing something with his music, because I feel he left it to us and maybe specifically to me that, wow, if I could do something really significant, and maybe we can get into what is significant because I wrestle with that myself.
Sure.
But the fact that you said, wow, the music is really solid. I've always believed that. So I've got this dream to do something productive, but the first key to the story has to be, does the music stand on its own? Anybody listening to the music,
sure,
they say, wow, I want to hear more about this artist first, versus, well, it's a sad story. The guy's son died in 2007. He's trying to keep the music alive, but the music's not that good. I'm no music expert, but I do I know what I like. And every time I hear his music, I'm like even just listening to it now, and I don't listen to it every day because I'd probably, that would be too much for me.
Sure.
But
I was going to ask that.
It's like, God, again, listen to how good that song is. So
I have put it on.
I love just 11 of them.
Yeah, I have put it on somewhat to not put it in someone's face, more like, oh, listen to this, here's the story. I kind of just throw it on. Maybe we're drinking coffee or drinking a glass of wine, and I just put it on, and some people will always say, what is this? This is really good. So it does have something to it. It certainly has that quality. But I did want to ask that. So when you hear it, you must be just awash with all of the emotions all over again every time.
The arts and specifically music, there are certain songs that remind me of old girlfriends. They capture a moment in time.
Sure. Right. Absolutely.
And so, Ben died in 2007. The song Big Man was the last song he ever recorded. And I'll never forget, if you listen to all his songs, or even his cover songs that he would sing in bars, he always sang heavy songs.
Sure.
Songs like I'm a Creep by
Radiohead.
Yeah, and he owned that song.
Yep.
When he would sing that song, it was autobiographical. He wasn't just singing, I'm a creep. He was living the words. He would do a version of Yesterday by the Beatles. He would do Marshall Tucker's Can't You See? And I never knew, to me, Ben was not a big, I love country rock or Allman Brothers, or that genre. And it always surprised me that he sang that song. And it wasn't until after he died by suicide that I realized in the song, Can't You See? He says, gonna find a mountain, the highest mountain, jump off, nobody's gonna know. So anyway, the point is he would sing these heavy songs. And so, and I kept saying to him, Ben, you gotta lighten it up for your audience. It's your music is beautiful, but it's painful and it's heavy. Maybe you could throw in a Sweet Caroline, something just to get everybody to sing along.
Right.
And, Ben was true to himself. And his last song, he says, Dad, I've written a song you're really going to like. It's upbeat.
Yeah.
Now, he would never share the words with me. Like, I could come and listen, I would record, but I could not. I would, if I said, what are the lyrics? He would just say, you have to come and listen. And he wasn't confrontational. He was just, he knew what was going on in his head, and we did too for the most part. But we kept thinking if he kept performing and kept singing and kept recording, that we could just live another day. And the lyrics to Big Man, it's got that nice downbeat, that rock and roll downbeat.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But the opening line is "Big Man up in the sky." Well, first of all, so he would tell me the name. I said, Ben, what's the name of the song? He said, Big Man. So I'm like, okay, it's a song about me, because I used to call him Little Man. He would call me Big Man. In the spirit of art, I was like, I don't care if he says my dad sucks, my dad's terrible, in front of his friends. If it's keeping him alive, I'm all in. I don't care. Obviously, I wasn't rooting for that, but when he told me the name, I'm thinking, okay, it's about me. So then I go to the show, and the opening line is "Big Man up in the sky. When is my time to die? Could it be tomorrow?" I was a little off. He wasn't singing about me. He was singing to God. And so even though he had the downbeat and it was up tempo, the lyrics were still heavy because that was bad. But I don't want to give you the impression that he was a dark, brooding kid. It's interesting. When something like this happens to you, you learn things that otherwise you would have no reason to become an expert in. One thing I've learned is that most suicides happen on a Monday. He died on a Monday. Why? Because everyone else is starting their day, starting their week. And when you're depressed and the world feels like it's on your shoulders, everyone's going to work and doing something. You're like, well, I got nowhere to go and I don't want to go anyway. That's it. I'm checking out. And most suicides occur not in winter, but in the spring, because the weather's getting nicer and people are being optimistic. Like right now, you're in Pennsylvania, I'm in Indiana, and the weather is starting to get great and you're starting to feel excited about things. The birds are chirping and you're upbeat and you're optimistic. Well, when you're suffering from depression and you're bipolar and you're thinking this ain't going to get any better, and you see everybody going out and having fun. So the day he died, October 15, 2007, was as nice a fall day, just magnificent day, the kind of day that everybody else is going to go outside and do something. But anyway, the point is, he was not a brooding kid, though, but he struggled with bipolar and depression. He was a very upbeat kid. He had a lot of friends. He was not dark. Your thought is kids who take their life, they're dark and they're insulated. No. It's just the opposite. It's kind of like the Robin Williams. Where, they're very popular. And every time my son went camping, all his friends like, Ben, you got to come and you got to bring your guitar. You got to come and you got to bring your guitar. He was the center of all the energy. And, but as you know, you can run, but you can't hide from, what's going on inside you.
So you're saying there, as long as it kept him alive, then you were fine with it. So you must have known or even had prior instances of. So tell us about the mental health journey for him. So obviously there was a bipolar diagnosis. There's a depression diagnosis.
Correct.
How did that kind of start to reveal itself in his younger years?
He just, well, you go all the way back to when he was born. He was just, my running joke is Ben was allergic to the world. He really was. He had asthma and he couldn't eat dairy and all these things. And he had different responses where you or I, we would try things. Things just affected him differently.
Yeah.
And he had these terrible headaches going through puberty, and he had his challenges. But again, great kid, played soccer, had a girlfriend, well on his way to having a nice, productive life.
Right.
But about 16, 17, as he's starting to perform and his friends are starting to excel and getting ready for college, he just starts falling behind for no reason other than he's lacking energy. He's lacking the mental resilience to come back from disappointment. Life is tough.
Right.
It really is. And as you and I know, with the phones, and the phones were just starting to become a thing in 2007. But I call them depression machines. That's all they are. I think they're really good at getting you depressed. And he saw his friends succeeding, or so he thought.
And we talk about it with musicians where there's even this extra layer of anxiety and depression around putting a new song out, and now you're just looking at either likes or shares instead of feeling good about the art you created. So it's like you're right. The social media of it all really can be a heavy weight on an artist in particular.
And he I don't want to say he was a drug addict, but he messed around with drugs, smoked pot, would drink. No different than me.
Yeah.
Growing up, probably no different than most of your listeners and most people.
Yeah.
But because it was Ben, it affected him differently. He was just wired differently.
Sure.
He had an addictive personality.
Yep.
And, we were getting him help. He had a counselor. He had a psychiatrist. I always think of the Humpty Dumpty thing, all the king's horses and all the king's men.
Sure.
Couldn't put Ben back together again. We those who knew him in the neighborhood when he died by suicide, of course, were shocked. But those who knew him very intimately, he talked about it. He was a very deep thinker. He loved to ask me about, Dad, do you think there's life after death? Do you think there's a God? I would do my best to answer, just like anybody would. But we were not very. We didn't grow up with a lot of faith in our household.
Well, that's also a tough question when you feel your child is just asking you out of curiosity. If you feel your child is asking you because they have a different motivation, that's scary.
And obviously, even though that's a possibility, you got to treat them with respect.
You got to do it your best you can. Absolutely, I can only imagine.
And obviously, hindsight's 20/20. And the day or two before he took his life, his mom and I, we were debating institutionalizing him.
Sure.
And or not, I shouldn't say that. Over that summer, it's been a while, and I don't talk about this sometimes I think I should take notes because, the dates blur. But there was a time, maybe a few months before he died, that we were thinking of institutionalizing him because he was really on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
And my first thought is, well, all right, we institutionalize him. He's going to come out and say, F you, you're never going to do that to me again.
Right.
And so,
and he's, at that point, if he's 18, 19, you kind of are also hoping he would have the buy-in to be a part of that decision.
In fact,
if he's not in the right, but
correct.
If he's not in the right frame of mind, then you can't get, no matter how much you're surrounding them with love and support, it's sometimes impossible to get them to realize the help they need.
He had that in spades. The thing that I'm so grateful for, what I like to say about Ben, on the day he was born, June 5th, 1988, if the doctor came to me and said, here's the deal, Ed, you're going to have this son. You're going to love him as much as any father ever loved his son. And he's going to love his father as much as any son ever loved the father. But you're going to lose him at 19. He's going to break your heart. I got to take the deal every time. Every time.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it.
I'm grateful for what I had. I'm grateful that he left me this music. Because I hate this journey that I'm on, but it's also amazing. I get to meet you. I'm staring at you on my computer right now, and, I feel like we're buddies.
I agree.
So many amazing people. And the thing you learn when this happens to you, when you lose a child to suicide, you think, you got to be the worst human in the world. You got to be the worst father in the world. How could you not be? Because this is like the ultimate FU. Okay, but I don't think that was what the motivation for Ben was. He was just in so much pain and, just couldn't get out of that. That's how much pain he was in.
Yes.
And I remember I'd go to these sessions, these therapy sessions with other parents who lost their kids to suicide. You walk in the room and you look around, you see this couple. You go to yourself, they look pretty normal. And that couple, and you're sitting in this circle and you say, wait a minute. These all look like beautiful, normal people that I would love to be friends with.
Right.
And then you start saying, maybe I'm not so bad either. Not that I'm here to justify that I was a good dad, but just, the way this journey that I've been through, this all has been part of it. It's, but we're here to talk music. Let's talk.
Yeah,
music.
that's what you nailed it. Like I want to pivot to, he obviously also, the flip side of what he was showing was a huge talent as a musician. So what can you share there in his younger years? Is like, where did he start to find it? When did he just show this incredible talent? You said he started performing at 16 or 17. It had to be showing itself earlier than that.
Without question. And as he was struggling, jumping ahead and then coming back, I always felt, because we all know that the tortured artist, there is room for sad songs. You could turn the radio on, every third song is about a broken heart and sad, whatever. So there's room for that. And I always felt that as long as he was writing and singing, this was his outlet, his release.
Sure.
And so I did everything I could to cultivate that, because I knew how much he was hurting, but thank God he had that release. He could put it into words and put it to music. And so he was making this beautiful lemonade out of this horrific lemon that he was feeling. So that was the theory. So maybe at 14, 15, I think the first, we got him an acoustic guitar. He sang in a local choir, and he had his voice to me, and I know him as dad, and I'm very biased, but his voice was soulful. He was not like, I'm not saying Al Green or Wilson Pickett, but he had a certain, when he's singing, because it's so from the heart, soul music. And even when he would sing like in the glee club or the choir with, 13, 14, it's like, my God, my son can really sing. Sure. I love music, but I can't sing a lick, but I still like to sing, but that doesn't mean I'm good at it. And we got him a guitar, and the first song he ever learned to sing, to give you an idea about the time frame, was Sublime, Santaria. And he played the crap out of that song. Yeah. And a footnote to that story, because my life is so crazy as a result of this whole thing. I've actually, the group Sublime, but I think the lead singer, I don't know if he died by suicide, but he's long gone.
Yes.
The guy named Rome became their lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
I have pitched this idea to so many people, including I got backstage and I talked to Rome about the project. So just a little I've talked to so many people. It's crazy.
Sure.
Trying to do something with the story, but he would play Sublime, Santaria. And then he would always just doodle. He would just sit in the house, doodle with the guitar. Started getting lessons at a local guitar shop in Griffith, Indiana. Mm-hmm. Good friend of mine, eventually the owner, Jerry Clemens, such a sweet man. And as you know, because you talk to musicians all the time, everything's collaborative. It's such a great community. They're very helpful. And Jerry saw greatness in him right away. He's like, oh my God, I want to get this guy. I want to put a band behind him. Mm-hmm. Like, Jerry, I don't know. And he was only playing acoustics. And we eventually bought him a electric. Mm-hmm. He maybe played it a handful of times. He had no desire. He was not a shredder. When he would perform, he would sit on stage, usually barefoot, usually would take the cord from the microphone and wrap it around his toe, usually would have his head down. He was not David Lee Roth jumping around.
Right. I got you.
He was like much more true to the trade. But he just kept performing, and he got up the nerve to write his own songs. And I'll never forget this. He had his first show where he was going to be like a headliner at a local coffee shop, where it was a big thing. All his friends, they were all playing there, but you could only perform originals. Oh, no, excuse me. You could perform covers and originals. And all of a sudden, ASCAP sent them a letter, and I'm sure you're familiar with ASCAP.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the owner of the bar or the coffee shop tells Ben, listen, I know your show is this Friday night. You can only play your originals. You cannot play any covers because, we're getting threatened and they're sending spies out. Yeah. And so Ben's in a panic. I mean, he's losing it. I said, Ben, you've got like 5 or 6 songs that you've already written. That song 4, which is a beautiful song about wishing he was 4, and other songs. He says, Ben, extend the chorus. Nobody knows how long the song's supposed to be. Sing the chorus twice. Have fun. Talk to the audience.
Solo.
You'll be fine. Yeah. And he was fine, but he was in such a panic because he couldn't play some covers. He wanted to do Yesterday. He wanted to do Creep. He wanted to do Santaria. He did a version of Bob Marley's Redemption song. He would sing that one a lot. But he just kept performing, and he was just so gifted. He really, and like I said, I'm so grateful he left us these 11 songs.
Yeah. So tell me about these recordings. So obviously, the sound of this album is good. Like, so where did the recordings come from that you were able to put out there? Because it for people who are listening, it's out there on streaming. You were able to get it out there on different platforms. So
the good news or the bad news, everything with me is a story. So the story behind it is as follows.
Yeah.
So the owner of the guitar shop had a friend who had a little basement studio. And so Ben would go down there and record. It was just him and this guy named Danny Georgie, who's, again, he's retired. He lives in Florida. And every once in a while, I'll call him up and say, Danny, that recording is going to go somewhere. You're going to see. And I still believe it. I still believe somebody maybe today is going to listen to this podcast and want to do something more with the music. But the point is, it's recorded in this basement, just him and Danny plays every instrument under the sun. So the original recording of Big Man, or the recording that you just listened to, was Ben on acoustic, Ben on vocals, and then Ben going back and harmonizing with himself. Because, of course, who can't harmonize with himself?
I can't do it.
How these people know how to do this stuff, I don't know, but that's Ben. And so Danny played the drums, played the electric, played the bass, would just layer the song. That recording took place in 2006 or 7. And it languished, and it was a decent recording. But fast forward to about 5 years ago, whenever I meet anybody in the entertainment industry, I always have my antenna half up. And as soon as I hear somebody saying, "Oh, I'm making a movie, I'm cutting an album," can I share something with you? And so this guy, we have a restaurant here in Bloomington, and this guy comes into the restaurant and asks for a donation. What's the donation for? He says, I'm a movie producer and I'm directing a movie. And if you donate food to the cast, at the end of the movie, we'll put your, food donated by.
Right.
So he doesn't know why I'm saying yes, but I immediately say yes. I say, as long, and they're filming right here in Bloomington, Indiana. So I go to the set and I bring him the food and I have a CD with me because that's how old this story is.
Right.
I have CDs. And I said, hey, if you can do me a favor, I want to share something with you. And I told him the story. And I said, if you can use, I said, I own all the copyrights. If there's anything you could use in the movie, I'd be honored. And here's the music. And he gets back to me like 2 weeks later and he says, Ed, I listened to it. It's great stuff, but it's just not right for the movie. And I've been rejected so many times, I don't care, but I keep swinging the bat because why?
Love it.
He's not going, Ben's not going anywhere neither. God willing, neither am I for a while. It gives me something to do. So he says, but I'll keep it close to my heart and we'll see what happens. Fast forward about 3 years later, this is about 2 years ago, I'm in the restaurant and he walks in and we're not friends, but I recognize him. He says, Ed, do you remember when you gave me that CD 3 years ago? I'm like, of course I do. He says, I have not forgotten about that. He goes, there's a studio here in the woods outside of Bloomington. He goes, you need to know that I gave that CD to this guy who owns the studio, and he has cleaned up the entire album for me. I just asked him to do it. Total stranger to me. And I wanted to drive out there next week, and we're going to go listen to your son's music, a little crisper, a little cleaner. And I'm like, oh, my God, and I'm hugging him, and I can't believe it. And so we drive out there and there's a band in the studio recording. So we all take a break and I tell them a story and we play a couple of tracks. And this happens all the time. When anybody listens to the music, almost always something magical happens. And it might be like just a game of rugby where they advance the ball 5 yards and then they get tackled. So it's not like we get to the finish line, but we go somewhere. We're advancing the ball forward. And so one of the guys calls me about a week later. He says, Ed, I was in that room. I was the drummer in that band, and I've listened to your son's music, and I can't get it off my head. I want to help you.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. He says, I want to get your, and I don't know anything about Spotify, and this stuff is just a foreign language to me. And so he goes, I want to get your music on Spotify and Apple and Amazon. And I'm like, okay, how much do you want me to pay you right away? Because I'm thinking I got to pay him. He said, no, I don't want a penny. I just want to help you. I believe in the project. Like, okay. And he does all this. He then says, I think we can get you on NPR. Because this story is worth getting on NPR.
Yep.
Okay. Because I'll talk. You can already tell. I enjoy it.
I love it.
And I think it's a worthy story. Yep. And so that didn't happen. But we had press releases. He had me do videos. And, I got more traction, more energy. And, just another saint, just like Philip Reese is my new saint. And you're moving the ball 5 yards.
I hope so. And, I want to move it more than 5, though. Let's see what we can do.
Let's go. And I would like to say, because if I'm a listener to this story, one thing I always like to mention, I think it's very important, is that I've never wanted to make a penny off of this. This is not a money-making project. However, if money is raised, right now, so after the guy put it on app, as you probably know, because I know you know the business much better than I do, if you're going to put music on any of these streaming sources, you have to tell them where you want the money to go, if any money is made. Because, by the way, if you have less than 1,000, I think you need
$1,000 per month to even start to getting paid.
Yeah. So my son's music all has 1,000 or less. So no money's being generated. But I had to tell them if any money is made, where is it going? So I picked almost randomly. A friend of mine said, well, use this organization called Centerstone. They're a not-for-profit. They're the nation's largest mental health not-for-profit. And I said, okay, I never even heard of them. And lo and behold, when I called them up, I called up the local office here in Bloomington, Indiana. They said we're headquartered in Nashville, in Tennessee. Wow. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, you just said, wow. That's what I said. I said, oh my God, Nashville. That's the king of country music and music in general. This is meant to be, because once the board finds out, because there's got to be somebody on that board who knows Zach Brown or knows Luke Bryant. I can't even name more than that, but knows somebody that they're going to say, we got to do something with this music, because all proceeds go to Centerstone. And I have tried and tried and tried. I've even lied and called the secretary and said, listen, I'm going to be in Nashville next week. Can I stop by and meet with the CEO? Well, what's it regarding? And nothing. Right. Crickets. So right now, we're not making any money because it doesn't have enough plays. But if this thing exploded, which I dream it would, I'm not making a penny. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but I think it's important that it could potentially be a money-making thing, but not for me. And as you know, money and awareness is where it's at.
Absolutely.
If we could money and awareness, we can't save them all, but we could save one.
Yeah. So
just one.
Right. Basically similar wired to you. Like, this show doesn't make revenue. I want it to break even, and anything that's left over on top of that goes to these other organizations that we try to spotlight. So, for example, the ticket sales for our Listen to the Dissonance event that's this weekend, the revenues all go to Backline, which was the interview right before this one. Backline is an organization that provides free mental health services to the music industry.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's something there. The other
they'd be a great contact for this story without question. That's brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Backline, I want to put another one out to you. This wouldn't necessarily further. I don't know that it would or wouldn't. It's more that it was so applicable. So on this episode a year ago, I'm always looking for these stories that are a connection between mental health and music. And sadly, last year it was another tragic one of a young boy who was a musician who lost his life. His was from a drug overdose, but it was stemming from battle with depression and such because of just needing the escape. His name was Ben. His mother, through the grief, and comes out of it and forms an organization called Speak Up for Ben. So you need to look up this organization, because it's called Speak Up for Ben because her son was named Ben. He was a musician. He passed away, I think it was right around the same age range, 17, 18, 19 years old. Then she furthermore starts this, Speak Up for Ben is more advocacy and lobbying for basically pharma companies to make sure that they're, doing the right thing with labeling and prescribing and also trying to get fentanyl out of the country and out of the right. opioid crisis. But then she started an organization off of that called the Oasis Community Center. And it's a support center for the families of people who struggle with substance use addiction. So substance use disorder, whatever. The point is that it's this beautiful stone house here in Pennsylvania that anyone is welcome to walk in the front door if they need help to manage the fact that you have someone in your life who struggles with addiction. So they will help you find services for that person, but this organization is specifically focused on the family who is struggling with the person who's has the addiction disorder.
Well, what's crazy, the way I found you or found your podcast, I will literally wax and wane with my energy for the project. I might go 6 months, nothing happens. I don't speak to anybody. Yep. I just know it's out there. And then something will happen and I'll sit at the computer and all of a sudden, like for the next 5 hours, I'm just looking for something. I don't even know what. I'm just fishing. And I'm not big on LinkedIn. Maybe it wasn't even, I might have went on podcast. I think I just Googled top 20 music podcasts. Something gave me an idea. Like, why am I not reaching out to podcasts? And I found yours. And there's a reason, because what you just described with Speak Up for
yep.
Ben, like to me, imagine, and who knows if this could be, but I reach out to yep. them and I said, listen, Centerstone is doing nothing. I would rather have and again, we're not making any money right now. I think it costs me $60 a year to keep the music alive,
yeah.
To keep it afloat in all the streaming yep. services. But wouldn't it be something if one of these songs took off and we raised money, for Speak Up for Ben, right. which, oh, by the way.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned it, because I was like, this is too weird, too coincidental for it not to be something. And so I even hope too, I hope maybe next year you and your wife can come out to listen to the Dissonance in 2027 and be here in person. Amazing. You can then meet that organization. They table at the event. So there's 8 mental health organizations that table at the event so that audience goers can, maybe they feel like they want to learn more about services provided for themselves or for their loved ones, or just to maybe support them because they're, passionate about these things. So they maybe want to learn how they can donate time or money. But then obviously sit and listen to the musicians perform. But yeah, I would love to have you all out for that next year. It would be amazing.
If you don't mind me asking, because like I said, I've listened to several of your podcasts. What is your background that you are so passionate? I mean, you bring it up in such a beautiful way. I don't think this is by coincidence that you're involved in mental health. I think there's more to the story there. I know you're interviewing me, but
no, you're the interviewer. I've told the story on here a lot in that I went to a concert. I'll tell a shorter version of it here. I went to a concert of somebody I had just interviewed, and he shared mental health struggle in the interview that I had just recorded earlier in the afternoon. And I was there to see him perform the concert that night because he's from out of town. And it involved a suicide attempt. And then on stage, he shared that and talked about what it was to go through that time, to get help, to come around on the other side. And now he has a song called Around the Corner. And so he told this story, and he was just kind of saying, so if you're kind of in a dark place, just know that you never know what's around the corner. So he then sings this.
Amen. I don't use that phrase, but the phrase I use is, to me, it's human nature to want to know what's on the other side of the hill.
Same kind of thing.
Same
kind of thing.
Or, one of my favorite Hemingway quotes or the book titles was "The Sun Also Rises." And yes, you're having a bad day, and the sun is setting, and it's gloom and doom.
That's very much
right now. I could hear the wind howling outside. We had a tornado warning earlier today, but tomorrow I guarantee the sun's going to shine. If not tomorrow, the next day.
That's I'm pretty sure I think.
But with your mental health, but when you're depressed,
right,
all that doesn't factor in, because every day is dark. We don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know what's around the corner in your mind. It's going to be the same thing.
I think it's suicide awareness, but it might just be mental health awareness. There is a phrase just that says, "The sun will rise and we will try again," and that's.
And I want to share something else. When you mentioned that singer who was very open on stage, at our restaurant, we have this beautiful plaque that my wife, now I'm remarried. I'm not, my Ben's mom and I got divorced, but I'm now remarried. By the way, my story, as sad as it might sound, and it is obviously devastating to lose a son, I have since I married another woman, and I have two other children. I have a 15-year-old daughter and I have a 10-year-old son, not to replace Ben, but I mean, the sun set on my life, and if I would have died, it wouldn't have been so tragic, but I didn't want to die at my own hands. Sure. But God had a plan, or somebody had a plan, and next thing I know, the sun is rising in my life. But so in our restaurant that we have, there's this beautiful plaque that my wife made, and it has a poem that talks about, just is a picture of Ben, and it's a poem that indicates he died, and it's very positive. And every once in a while, I'll see somebody over there reading the poem. And if I have time, I'll walk over and I'll say, that was my son. And they almost invariably will say, how did he die? You don't mind me asking, how did he die? I say, he died by suicide. And I'd say 7 out of 10 will immediately say, I just lost my mom. I just lost my dad. I just lost my brother. Yes. And the point is, when it first happens, you think you're the only one. And I guarantee when that singer opened up on stage like that, there was 40% of the audience who were like, oh my God. You know,
well, that's where,
even more,
when you ask where this comes from, that's what happened. Is there were murmurs and, you know, people looking at each other, and I saw two people suddenly grab each other's hands. So you just know that meant something. But where it really crystallized was show's over, he's at the merch table, and there was this line of people who were all with tears in their eyes thanking him and hugging him, and then also saying, you know, I thought I was the only one that felt that way, to your point. And said, now that I know you know what that feels like, I know that I can put that song on if I'm ever having those dark thoughts again.
Amen.
And it may help me through. And when I saw it was just happening right in front of me, that I was like, well, wait, we can do that. Like, we can if I have musicians who are willing to be brave and be vulnerable and talk about it, we can create an evening where this is what the point is to talk about these things and to share these stories, and so that you don't feel as alone. And now you'll hear 4 songs from 4 different musicians. You'll have 16 songs you could turn to. So that was where it all stemmed from, was that evening of watching it. And to your point, it's so much more prevalent than that. Everyone feels alone, but yet if we could all just talk about it, you'd realize how unalone we all are. We're all in this together in some fucked up, scary way. But it's like, that's the point, is like, that's what the night became about. Was we're not trying to solve anything. We're not trying to fix anything. We're just simply saying, for this night, it's a safe space, and words are not to be scared of. Labels are not to be embarrassed by. And we're just going to simply be together and support each other. And that's what it's about.
Phil Reese, you are all right in my book. Can I pivot off of that?
Sure, absolutely. And
I don't know how much, listen, I could go on for hours. I like to talk. It's very cathartic for me. I'm being selfish right now. I mean, I would rather sit here and I wish I would have nothing in common, and we wouldn't even know each other. But the fact that we do, it's very cathartic for me to sit here and talk and tell stories. Along the lines of Around the Corner, in Ben's 11 songs, there's a 12th song by his sister called Your Choice. Did you have a chance to listen to that?
I did, but I don't know that I totally connected all those dots.
Okay. And I think this is important because I want to give a little background on it. So Ben dies. Now, of all the hands to play, you're the dad who loses his son to suicide, the mom, the friend. To me, the toughest hand, not even close, is the younger sibling. Imagine having to go to high school that Monday or that week, and you see that girl? I mean, that's the way I envision it. I just can't.
No, I know what you mean.
And when you're 16, I don't care if your life is perfect. It never is. Losing an older sibling who you admire and respect and love and worship, it couldn't be any worse. And so both my kids from my first marriage and both my kids from my second marriage, they can sing. And so her name is Haley. And so when she was about 17, she went back to the same studio where Ben recorded all his music, and with the same guy, Danny Georgie, and she recorded a song called Your Choice, which is in the 12 songs, the only song of the 12 that are uploaded to Ben's site that's not by him. And to me, that song I'm sure you know the song "Tears in Heaven" by Eric Clapton. Okay, it's the same kind of tempo. And if you don't know what the song "Tears in Heaven" is about, and I played it for you, it sounds like a lullaby. Yep. I don't know. And then I tell you, he's singing to his son Connor, who fell out of a hotel window, and he's praying that he's going to get to see him again in heaven. And because I got to be strong and carry on, because I know there's no tears in heaven. And I mean, if you listen to that song and know what he's singing about, you cannot keep it together. Well, my daughter's song "Your Choice" about her brother and the choice he made. To me, I think of "We Are the World." I think of "Do They Know It's Christmas Time at All?" Like, if I could get an artist, like when this thing first hatched, I was thinking I want Christina Aguilera to sing it. Now she's probably a grandmother. Yeah. But the point is, if we could get a famous artist, or even if somehow I can get enough traction on Haley's song, because it's beautiful. It's painful, but it is a beautiful piece of art.
Someone else probably wouldn't be able to get the same emotion into it the way that she can.
Correct. And I mean, it's raw. Her pain is real. So I would encourage your audience. It's much like that song you just talked about, where you said that the audience says, if I'm feeling that way, I could play Around the Corner. Well, like, to me, Haley's song, if you want to know what it feels like to be left behind by suicide, you play Your Choice by Haley. She goes by Haley Valentine.
Or to this whole point, if you're working through that, if you're coping with that yourself, this is the type of song that can maybe just help you feel like you're not as alone, because you know that someone out there like Haley.
That's 100%.
Yeah. So on that point, and this is how we'll kind of close out the session, but I'm with you. I could talk to you for another 2 hours. But going back to Ben's music, he has tracks on here that are, again, you had talked about these deeper lyrics, but the titles of them are like My Apology and One Life. Down This Road. So like you know that these are songs that are somewhat therapeutic and working through tough issues. And the one that seemed to be even almost, to use a phrase, anthemic of this moment in his life was Let Me Go.
Without question.
And I just wanted to maybe have you just set it up quick, and then we'll play it. And
without question. I like how you said quick. That you need to do that. Otherwise, we're going to lose the audience. So any parent wants their kids to be free thinkers and stick up for what they believe in, even if we disagree with them. And so he wrote that. So he wrote this song called "Let Me Go," and I said, Ben, because that one is easy to understand the lyrics. You know, I'm sitting there writing them all down. It's very easy for me to understand the lyrics because it's a lullaby. And in the song, he says two things. He does two things that just scared the shit out of me. One. During the song, he says, people are dying just to live. I am living just to die. Like, Ben. And then in every chorus, he says, let me go back to sleep. But he ends the song with just let me go. I'm like, Ben, could you please? I would really appreciate it if you just say, let me go back to sleep. He says, Dad. And he was not a defiant kid. He was not an in your face. He was just very comfortable in his own skin. He was like, Dad, it's my song. That's the song. And I was like, I can't argue with that. It's his song.
You have to admire that.
And so at his funeral, that was the eulogy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That was the eulogy. And for good reason.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for your bravery and your openness and, you know, your vulnerability on this. And I'm sure this isn't easy to come back around to. But like you said, too, there's some therapy to it as well to make sure that Ben stays alive through this music and through these stories. So thank you for sharing them. And hope everyone enjoys this last track that we'll play here. But please go check out. It's on streaming services. It's on YouTube. You can go check it out. The thing I love about this particular version is it has pictures of him through his life, and it's a really beautiful tribute to him. So here, enjoy Let Me Go by Ben Schwartzman.
Phil, I wish I could hug you right now, but
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
doing the best I possibly can. Well, I was wrong and you were right. Now I can't sleep at night. I was wrong and you were right. Now I can't sleep at night. People are dying just to live. Well, I